Okay, hello again. My mission is impossible. PRINCE2 in 1 hour. Three days, and really hard work of 3 days, where to go through all details. So it's impossible to go through details. What I would like is to give you some kind of a feeling what a beautiful tool PRINCE2 is. Because it's very beautiful, not only practical, and many persons do enjoy PRINCE2. There are some clubs, discussion groups, LinkedIn. People do speak, discuss. People do love PRINCE2 for some reason. Because I believe people do love governance, most of them. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Then I ask you, when we say project, we have that kind of a feeling that's trouble. Am I right? That project is trouble. No. Yeah. That was the first project that failed in the history of mankind. You know that project, yes? The first project that failed. Why? Because God didn't like the business case of that project. We could say in the language of PRINCE2. Absolutely, God didn't approve the business case. And decided to stop the project. So simple way to stop. There was no need to cause an earthquake. There was no need to cause a war. Just to disturb the communication. Just to cause so the people could not communicate. They were not unable to communicate because they started to speak different languages and they didn't finish the project, didn't deliver in time. However, well, the Bible says they had a technology, they had money, they had resources. And so I have a feeling that happens in our project. Many of them fails not because of lack of the money, not because of the technological skills, but just because of the management, just because of the fact we cannot work together. Just because we are not a team, a real team that everyone knows his position in a team. Why? Why is that? Just give me one reason. Bad project manager. Might be. Bad project manager. Bad project board member. Might be, sure. Many reasons. What else? Anything else? Why are we failing with our projects?
Was angry.
Oh. I would just sum up because of no governance in that area. No governance that would make us to be a controlled environment. We want controlled environment. Whatever we do, we want controlled environment. And PRINCE2 is projects in controlled environment, abbreviations. So is that PRINCE2. What is a controlled environment or what is an uncontrolled environment? Can you give me an example of something that is controlled and something is uncontrolled? Traffic?
Traffic in the streets.
Traffic's on the street. It's controlled. It's controlled. It's controlled. Yes, it is controlled. Because we only go when there is a green light. When there is a red light, we stop. So we have control over that, you can say. So if there is a situation in our project that, for example, a person started to do something because she thinks it's good for the project, I do that I'm doing that because I think it's good. Is it controlled environment?
No.
Why? Why not?
Because nobody decided.
Because it's not been decided, because I may have no authority to decide on that. But should I suggest anyone? And in the control environment, he should think about what I'm suggesting. He should process my suggestion, my issue, as we say in the language. That's a controlled environment if there is an issue processing. Okay, but never, I can never do when I think, so I'm doing. That's controlled. And should I do just all the part of the work, or maybe just a piece of part? Product by product? In the controlled environment? In the controlled environment, I should deliver only what I'm authorized to. So PRINCE2, short comparison to PMBOK. Someone asked me what is the difference between those two approaches. Well, first, there is no conflicts. I would say that the focus is a little bit different. The PRINCE2 is focused on something different. First, PRINCE2 is a project management method. It's a method. It's a just general scheme, general framework of a governance. Of course, it must be tailored. But it is a framework, completed framework for each and every organization. Doesn't matter if you are a bank, if you are telecommunication, or if you are all the country. We may still use PRINCE2 as a framework, while body of knowledge is some kind of a knowledge, broad collection of good practices. PRINCE2 is very prescriptive. In other words, or you use all PRINCE2 or you use nothing. You cannot say, I'm using partly PRINCE2. I'm using just piece of PRINCE2. And then the next piece, okay, we'll come back to that next year. While body of knowledge is not prescriptive as PRINCE2 is. PRINCE2 is very integrated set. PRINCE2 is a completed anatomy of a project, composed of processes, teams, that cannot be treated as isolated items. While body of knowledge, well, treats each topic area in isolation from each other. In fact, you may take something from body of knowledge in isolation, not in PRINCE2. Not in PRINCE2, okay. PRINCE2 covers all project management roles. What is a real benefit that we know all the actors that must be involved in a controlled way in a project, while PMBOK is focused on project managers. In my private opinion, project manager is very important, but it's not deciding on the project success. There are many other actors that can lead a project to a success or may cause a failure. PRINCE2 does not cover interpersonal soft skills, while they are covered in body of knowledge. PRINCE2 doesn't say they are not important. They are, but not included in PRINCE2. Look for that knowledge somewhere else. You will be described how people should behave in PRINCE2, how they should communicate, when and what messages should be given. But you will not find an answer how to make them act that way. By punishing them, by rewarding them, okay, apply any cultural aspects to your situation. And PRINCE2 is just referencing techniques. So it's not very important from PRINCE2 as it is important from PMBOK if you are using Gantt, networking and other areas. PRINCE2 would say you may use the tools if you find they are beneficial for you. So anyway, those two approaches combine There are no conflicts. There are not conflicts. We cannot say it's not PRINCE2 says that and PMBOK says that. There are not conflicts. Those two approaches are, let's say, supporting each other, especially the approach of body of knowledge so much focused on the techniques, on the tools. Okay, again, we are here as in the beginning. We are starting with that part of governance, a little bit more detailed than before. Project, temporary organization created for the purpose of delivering one or more business products according to an agreed business case. Very important. Very important that must be an agreed business case for why we are doing that. And very important that all our products are business products. There is no special IT products category in the project. There's nothing special there. There might be IT product, but it's understood as a business product, as one of the business products that must happen during the project time. Again, project management, planning, delegating, monitoring, and control of all aspects of the projects. Motivation of those involved to achieve the project objectives within time, cost, quality, scope, benefits, and risks. So this is project management control cycle. This is project management. We want to do according to the plan. That's the first. I want to have a plan. I'm planning first. Then I'm delegating. I'm delegating, so I'm saying to another person, to another layer, do it for me. I'm delegating that. I will be monitoring your progress, perhaps. Not all the time. I will not be involved all the time with what you are doing. However, if something's wrong, if there are some deviations, that I would like to have the possibility of controlling, so correcting the plan to reflect the deviations and what happened. We delegating. Delegating is the key, I would say. 6 aspects of project management. Because I'm delegating, I'm telling the person who is delegated, do it within costs, timescales, quality, scope, risk. And also there are benefits listed. You can see there is a minimum and maximum for each of those parameters. Are you surprised of that? So many, 6? Probably you might have heard something about 3. There was some kind of a triangle, the scope, quality, and time. And PRINCE2 would say, not true, not true. We have 6. We have 6 aspects of management. Whatever we do, that's of course costs. That's okay. Time, accepted quality, yes. Scope, maybe yes. We can define scope. We can define very flexible scope. Risk, why is risk here? Because we are given a level of risk that we may face. We cannot risk too much. And what is the acceptable level for us is given to us by someone who is delegating to us. Okay, risk, but not, this is the borderline. You cannot risk more. I don't agree on that. I don't agree on that. I don't accept the risk level more for you. Whatever you do, you must remain within the level of risks. Why benefits? Because as probably we feel most of the benefits, if not all, are to be collected after the project is closed. Not during the project, but after the project is closed. And it's a time for collecting the benefits. But whatever I do here today in the project, I'm influencing the future benefits. And I'm given the line, whatever I do, I must keep the benefits from the minimum to maximum that is given. I cannot decide anything what would, let's say, reduce the benefits. This is my freedom. This is my freedom when I'm delegated. I must remain within all those parameters, and I must manage myself. If I can do, I'm deciding myself if I can remain within those networks, the 6 dimensions of the reality I'm in. Then I must do it myself. Principles, teams, processes, and tailoring to environment, as we discussed it before, everything is focused on principles. As with all British guidances, first principles. We must agree on principles, then we must build on principles. We cannot remove any principle from the down because the construction will not be stable. The PRINCE2 teams, business case, organization, quality plans, change, progress, and the processes inside. This is the construction, this is all PRINCE2 in the project environment, in the real context. The 7 principles of PRINCE2 we'll discuss it a little more detailed. Then I'll ask you which the principle is probably the most difficult to follow. PRINCE2 project, the first principle, has continued business justification. Sounds very simple. When they started to develop PRINCE2, they discovered in Britain something what was very strange. Too many projects were, but no one was able to answer why we are doing them. Someone told us why we are doing them, what is the reason, what are the benefits, we don't know. Then we have the principle that the project must have continued business justification. So not only the reason to start the project, but the reason must remain valid through all the time. Situation may change. Maybe something was justified at the beginning, now it's not. If it's not, we must stop and close the project immediately. Because we do project only if they have business justification. That is documented in the business case, must be approved, updated, and we come back to the question, is it still worth doing that project many, many times? The question about the business case will come when each time will delay more than tolerances. The question will come at each stage of a project when we'll decide whether to continue, to start next stage of a project or not. The answer is in the business case, whether should we continue with that or not. Learn from experience. Sounds very simple. PRINCE2 project teams learn from previous experience. Lessons are sought, co-recorded, and acted upon throughout the life of the project. So simple. Yes, but the organization should have some kind of a database knowledge with the lessons. When I start a project, I'm suggested by PRINCE2 to seek for any lessons. We might have had some similar projects in the past. Let's get the lessons. Let's use them. Let's apply. Do not repeat the same errors, for example. And during the progress of our project, we are also obliged to collect new lessons, to capture, collect new lessons and report them to the organization, to the database organization, so the organization would be a learning organization. So next projects would be able to use our lessons all the time. Well, obligatory at the stage end, we must report that kind of lessons report. The principle is that defined role and responsibilities. PRINCE2 project has defined and agreed roles and responsibilities within an organization structure. Engages the business, user, and supplier. So if I'm saying I'm in the project, I must answer the question, who I am? What is expected of me in the project? What can I expect of others? And what is the communication between project team members going to be defined on the PRINCE2? it says then if I'm in the PRINCE2 project, I'm not a volunteer. It's nothing additional, it's my normal task. That also say that if it doesn't matter what's your position in your organization, doesn't matter if you are director, whatever level of line manager you are, you cannot just come and say and tell to the project people, do it because I'm a director. Because project must have that some kind of autonomy. Each and every person may raise an issue that is expected to be processed very formally. But you cannot come to say, okay, do it because I'm telling you. My question first will be who you are. I'm a director, it's nice, but who you are in the project. What's your position in the project? Project will have different roles. Project must have an autonomy in the organization. Managed by stages, we do not do project as a one big step. We are suggested to plan some kind of a review points at the end of stages. Well, it's always a question, how many stages? It's our decision where we are planning the stages, but the point is that at that point we are reviewing the project, sometimes using external reviews, and deciding whether to continue, deciding whether we are on track or we are not on track. Stages. In my opinion, it was one of a point of a success in Britain. They had a lot of problems with the projects. That was the reason they developed PRINCE2. And there is a formal requirement for government-controlled projects that at the stage of a major project must come an external audit, the so-called gateway review process, to allow to continue to the next stage. That kind of a gateway auditor will leave red flags. If there is one of red flag, the project cannot go. Yellow, you may go, but you may have time to correct. And the green, everything is okay. It's a very structured method that is called gateway review. And many commercial organizations applied that method internally. Mr. President is not, Mr. or Mrs. President is not going to have many failures, so I want P3O to run that kind of gateway reviews, because I don't want the projects to fail. I want them to be stopped and corrected when the time comes. The stages are very important. In the time before PRINCE2, it was discovered that one of the reasons of projects to fail is that they were not divided into stages. Well, they described it as a snowball effect. Snowball effect. The ball is running, the bigger, no way to stop, no way to correct. Okay, managed by exception. Tolerances. Managed by exception means managed by tolerances. PRINCE2 project has defined tolerances for each project objective. So, to establish delegated authority. We delegate. As we highlighted, it's very important. One management level to the next level, setting tolerances. I'm delegating, so I'm giving you tolerances. And if you cannot manage it yourself, try to. Imagine within the tolerances, you are expected to manage yourself, to resolve problems, if any, without reporting to me. But if you are expecting, so if there is a forecast the tolerance is going to be exceeded, you are obliged to immediately report alarm by escalation process to the higher authority level. It is very important because we are not expecting the top management, the top board members to be involved in the project all the time. They are not expected to be. They are expected to delegate. They are expected to delegate the tolerances so the persons at the lower level would be able to resolve the problems themselves. There is no time for the project, for the board managers to be involved in the project all the time. There is no justification. There is a project manager who is expected to be clever enough to manage within the tolerances given. Let the project manager work for the project. Let project manager be a project manager. Let him or her has the tolerances. Very important because there is no need so-called regular progress meetings. Do you have that kind of project meetings? Every Tuesday at 3 p.m. perhaps? We'll meet to review our projects. Yes? It's PRINCE2. It's not the syndrome of having the regular progress meeting is not a syndrome of good project management. In fact, it's a syndrome of sickness of organization. It's a waste of time. There's a waste of time. If you can give me one reason that kind of progress meetings are justified, do you think they are effective? No, they are not, in fact. They are not, in fact. The next principle is focused on products. PRINCE2 project focuses on the definition and delivery of products, in particular their quality requirements. That means that first, when planning, we are focusing on the products. We are defining what the product is going to be. Then we are dividing them into products, sub-products, and we are creating so-called product breakdown structure, describing each product, especially in the terms of quality. Product first, then we will find out what activities, what tasks are needed, and then we will create a schedule. Okay? Product reduce risk, acceptance disputes, scope creep. And I have a feeling that everyone knows what is in the scope of the project, thanks of that, and what is not in the scope of the project. No, it's a little bit difference in the approach between PRINCE2 and PMBOK, while PMBOK is focused on the work breakdown structure. So work is first, and PRINCE2 said no, product is first. First, think what is to be delivered, and then think about the work that is needed to deliver the product when you know what the product is in fact by its description. And the tailoring, well, of course, tailoring needed to suit the project environment size, complexity, importance. That is that the way we apply the method should be a subject of some kind of agreement and discussion between project manager and project board. So what information, what reports, how frequent reports are needed is a question of discussion. The report may be needed once a week, maybe required once a month, depends on the project. Maybe a short, maybe very long, maybe even spoken. You'll never find in PRINCE2 that something must be written, that something is a document. Not necessary, it must be a video, must be a speech, maybe a speech, whatever is recognized in the company as that kind of, let's say, report happened. And it's described in the so-called project initiation documentation, a very famous management product of PRINCE2, so-called PID, where we will state how the method of PRINCE2 is going to be tailored. Okay, which of the principle is the most difficult one to use? On which one is frequently failed? The last, the tailoring? Oh, and what about the defined roles and responsibilities? Are we clear? Are we clear what our role is in the project? If I'm a project manager, not only by name, but just by authority I have in my hand. And perhaps managed by exception. Are we given a clear borders of authorities, tolerances? Do we know what we should resolve on our own and what we are not allowed to resolve? Okay. Okay, so this is the PRINCE2 process. This is the PRINCE2 project life. How it starts. It's a good thing that PRINCE2 starts before the project. I have a feeling that it would be a very bad project management method that would say, okay, when you have a project, I'll come and help you. It helps us to establish a project. So it starts before we have a project. What should happen to start preparation to the project? What should happen in the organization? I'm starting preparing the project because I feel it's good. Business case? Well, oh yeah, but who developed the business case? Who was authorized to develop the business case first? Who? Well, someone wanted to change, and I agree, wanted to change some kind of a justification why, okay. And I have a feeling that that person must got interest of, let's say, portfolio level or program level. So the permission, okay, let's start, should appear from the higher authority. Portfolio. Maybe because there was 100 very good ideas, but we can afford on 20 only. We cannot more. So someone must decide, okay, let's take a chance on that. So-called project mandate must appear, project mandate. That is a permission to start project preparation. And then we have seen, then we may see the starting up a project that starts here. It's a pre-project phase. What would you expect? Who should be nominated in the project mandate? Because if I'm at the portfolio level, I'm writing a project mandate for a project, and I should nominate someone. I cannot say I have a project mandate. Is there anyone willing? I should nominate someone. I'm nominating a project executive. So when we have project executive, and the project executive must look for the project manager. There are two persons. Those two must create the project organization, must look for the remaining members of project board. They must look for the senior user role. They must look for the senior supplier role, and the team managers, the specialist team managers that will deliver products. This is what's going in the starting up a project. Finally, we can see here a document that is called a project brief. It's not written by one person. It's written by many persons, by the future users, future suppliers, under the guidance of project manager. So it's not a document to be written by one department, for example, in the organization. This is a pre-project who created, if they succeeded to agree, the project brief. Then it comes to the project board, approves, perhaps must go to the higher authority for money, may ask for money. When come back, we start a project that is an initiation phase, initiation stage. Initiation stage will completes with a program definition, project definition, the document, that is approved by project board. Project manager will change managing a stage boundary process to the next stage and starting to executing first stage. When changing, managing a stage boundary prepares the next stage plan in details, and finally achieving the final delivery stage when there is a closing a project stage. Here we can see the delivery. Here is the way that the team managers work. Here you can see the software being prepared, technical products. Managing product delivery is a process for team manager when specialist products are being delivered for the project. Well, is it more or less clear how it works? And we have teams. 7, magic 7. We must have business case to answer the question why. Collection of information should be a standard within our organization. What information, what gathered, what mathematical methods we use to answer the question why we are doing that, why. That's reward. Organization, it's a scheme who is a part of our project team. The quality, answer the question what, how we do with the quality, how we are going to achieve the quality of our products. Plans, how much, when, plan of our project. Risk area, what if, to manage the risk, to manage the uncertainty. Change, what is the impact, the question, because each and every project will happen changes. It's quite natural that during the project is some kind of adventure, something new, that we may have need to make some changes, to introduce some changes to what was baseline before, but in the controlled way. And the progress, because we want to know where we are. We want to know the picture, the real, true picture of the project, where we are now, where we are going, and should we carry on? Should we deliver on time? Short word, business case. What information? What information would you include in the business case? What do you need to decide it's worth doing that? How do you feel? What is needed? Okay, the benefits first. Benefits and disbenefits. There might be some disbenefits. Usually they are. There's benefits. Okay, so that's one category of information. What else? The cost, of course, very important, the cost. What else? The analysis of current situation. So, okay, the explanation why. Yes. Explanation why. What makes us move? And also very important parameter, risk. What is the risk? What is the risk? So executive summary, reason, business options, benefits, time scale, costs, any method of investment appraisal we use to compare all those information to find out whether it's worth or not. Look, this is the general scheme of organization. If there is a project, someone must be an executive. A person who was delegated by a portfolio or by a program, do a project for me. He has a senior users and senior suppliers to support. He or she has a project manager down. They make project board. They use project assurance, some kind of external support to observe the project for their on behalf of them. Project manager use team managers. They are observed by the assurance. The project manager may have a project support, for example, just P3O we discussed. There is a change authority to manage changes. An option, if project board doesn't want to be involved in deciding on changes, may establish a change authority to take such a decisions on them. And this is the project management team. There is There might be more than senior user. We have more than one senior supplier, but the executive and the project manager is just one person. Cannot be. And you cannot be a project manager, you cannot be a member of the board. But you can be project manager and team manager, so you may have two roles in the project. And PRINCE2 is not very much interested by itself what is down. So team members are not part of PRINCE2. Team members are covered by Agile, by Scrum, by Rational, by any specialist methods we learn when, for example, when how to produce the software. It's not in PRINCE2. PRINCE2 is the project management method. It's focused on management. Here you may have a very nice techniques how to produce software. They may link to PRINCE2. There we have external stakeholders to manage. Yeah. Someone who is not in the project but may influence us in a positive or negative way. We should anyway try to work with that kind of stakeholders. Usually during the exams there might be, let's say, trade unions, Green Party, or whatever that may influence us with our project. And plans. Thinking of plan. When we think PRINCE2, we think planning. First, product description, breakdown structure. Each product is described. And then we create product flow diagram showing the sequence of appearance of each product. And this is product-based planning. Then having that, we may plan the activities. That's a very powerful tool. Well, and in the approach of PRINCE2. Here is an example of product breakdown structure for any project. Product first. I can imagine that a person were discussing 2 weeks to create that kind of picture for a project, yes. And finally, well, they decided the product flow diagram. And then, okay, when they have it, they must plan task for person. And the quality. Very much focus on the quality. We collect quality in the product description first, then PRINCE2 project will lead us to create quality management strategy, and each product will have its own product description, including the quality method, quality requirements. There will be quality register that contains confirmation of all quality controls that happened in the program. All quality records are documented. For example, in the quality review technique, especially acceptance records for each product. So quality, and the quality approach is product approach in the eyes of PRINCE2. Quality by products. Risk, oh yeah. We have, risk is not something wrong, not necessarily something wrong. Risk might be also a chance, an opportunity. We have a category of threat responses and opportunity responses. We may avoid risk. Can you give me a sample how to avoid risk? Avoid means no, nothing is. Risk is closed.
Sell it.
What?
Sell it for the risk management companies like insurance and so on.
Well, sell, well, this will be a transfer. Selling is a transfer. I'm selling the risk. For money, of course, yes, to transfer. Avoiding, for example, I'm afraid to fly by airplane, so I'm traveling by train or by bus. Yes. The risk of airplane crash was avoided 100%. There is no risk in my plan. We can reduce the probability. We can reduce impact. We can reduce both. For example, I can imagine that if we reduce the speed of our cars, we reduce both probability of an accident, and we also reduce the impact. Probably it's better to have a crash having 40 kilometers than 60. The impact is lower when I have a transfer. There was a good example of just insurance on contract. We may find out, we may share, we may agree. We may share risk. I'll pay 50% for that, you'll pay 50%, that we are sharing the risk, for example. And finally, we must accept the risk. We accept, then we say, okay, there is nothing to do, we must accept, okay, we accept that level of risk. And the opportunity, also the opportunity, a chance. We may exploit, we may enhance, we may reject. We say we do nothing, okay. For example, the company says, we'll bring you some computer within 1 month, but we know that usually say that because to have time, so we are pushing on them, bring us, we are calling, enhancing, calling, so okay, I provide them because I don't want their calls. It was just my opportunity response. I wanted to get that computer earlier than that was planned. And the project, the progress team. Delegating. The progress is having the picture of, is getting the picture of all the project. All that, and it's very important to know. Corporate or program management delegates project board. Oh, a little bit smaller desk, yeah. Project board delegates project manager, a stage, just one stage at a time. Project manager delegates team manager. Yes, with tolerances. Here, team manager reports on regular basis, so-called checkpoint report. Project manager writes highlight report. The project board will also write some kind of a progress reports to the corporate management or program management. And the second channel informs immediately if there is any serious threat to tolerances. Project manager would write exception report, and also some kind of exception report would be written by project board to the higher authority.